Hey guys, Kevin Smith for Girl Meets World Season 2, Episode 20, Girl Meets Texas, Part 1. Now, I was definitely looking forward to this episode for several reasons, mainly because of the fact that it's a three-parter. That's something that Girl Meets World has never done before, and I was really hoping they take the opportunity to have some big reveals, have a really big cliffhanger, and damn, this was a very big episode. I mean, it started off like a regular Girl Meets World episode, but it became so much more than that, and I'm very happy that they went in the deep direction that they did with this episode. I was honestly kind of worried when this episode started that it kind of just be a filler episode. Because, I knew this was a three-parter, and I kind of thought this was going to be the fun one. And while this was a fun episode, the ending is really what saved this episode for me. Because I gotta tell you guys, this episode, in the beginning, I really wasn't digging that much. And I'll tell you, I'll tell you why. But overall, I thought this was a great episode. Definitely a great way to start this three-parter. And definitely tomorrow night's episode is going to be very interesting to see what happens, especially after the ending of this episode. So basically, the plot of this episode was pretty simple. Riley and Maya come to tell Lucas that they've entered him into a contest at Texas because he once told them how he rode this sheep, for like a bull riding thing. It was a sheep, and he almost passed out, and it didn't really go well for him. And Zay is the one that told him, and he's kind of pissed about it. But then he realizes that not only is he riding a sheep, he's actually riding a bull. Which is called Tombstone. So you can understand why he's so terrified of riding Tombstone the Bull. And basically, we get this really weird classroom scene with Cory about railroads. I felt it was completely out of place in this scene. I didn't know what the point of it was. But we are then introduced to Lucas's grandpa, Pappy Joe. We finally get introduced to him. Maya is ecstatic because she's heard so much about him, and I really loved seeing this character. You can see how much he cares about Lucas and how much he wants him to conquer his fear and how happy he is about it. But Lucas obviously is very worried about what's going to happen, and he doesn't really know what the outcome of this is going to be. And basically, we then go to Texas, and I love the part where he's like, "Oh, my friends aren't here," and then they're right there. Cory and Topanga are not in this episode. We're basically to expect that Riley and Maya went there by themselves. I don't know how. I'm assuming Cory drove them there. I mean, it makes sense in a way, but I thought that was kind of strange. Boy Meets World did stuff like that before where they had trips, but that was more like a class trip. This was legitimately like they just went there by themselves. I'm assuming Cory and Topanga drove them there, obviously, but I just found it strange that they didn't go with them. I guess they just wanted to make it more of a friend thing. But then we get to some of the best stuff in this episode, because then we get introduced to the character of Cletus, who, this guy is awesome. I love the character Cletus. Cletus, first of all, we get this really weird thing where Riley and Maya, basically they come in and the audience is like, thinking they look hot and everything, and I'm like, Rowan Blanchard is 12 years old. Like, who the hell is that? Who the hell is, like, that's just, no. Sabrina Carpenter looks hot though. She's like my age, so I can say that. Rowan Blanchard though, I mean, like, she's gonna look hot when she's my age, but I can't really say that right now because she's 12. So yeah. But I thought that was interesting. So I really love the part where one of my favorite parts of this episode by far is when Riley talks about how they want a bay window in Texas because they don't have one, and it's kind of something they're not used to. Not used to having a bay window. So she literally goes up to them, and Pappy Joe, who clearly does not want them there, he does not want them there at all. He's saying, well, why don't you two just stay there? And then we get introduced to the character of Cletus, and this guy is awesome. I love this character. Basically, Cletus is everything that Maya imagined. Anytime that Maya's made fun of Lucas, this is exactly who this person is, and I absolutely love that. He even does a her that, Maya always does, and Maya is just fangirling over this. It's hilarious to watch, and I definitely really loved seeing that. Farkle in this episode didn't really have too much to do. He had stuff to do here and there, but not really too much. He was there, but he didn't really have a lot to do. I feel like he needs to be there. Obviously, he's part of the group, but he kind of felt out of place in this episode. I will say that. I didn't feel like Farkle needed to be there, but whatever, he was there, so I'm not going to complain, obviously. And then after this is when the episode starts to get really, really good. After this scene, I was a little skeptical, but the scene with Cletus really saved the episode for me because at first I really wasn't enjoying it. Like, you know what, this episode's kind of not that interesting. But I thought it definitely got a lot more interesting once we get to the actual bull riding stuff. That's when stuff got really good here. Um, because we go to the bull riding stuff, and he's planning on riding the bull and everything, and he obviously is freaking out. And Zay basically has videos that are showing, I guess, people falling off the bull. And this really scares Maya. We see a very different side of Maya in this episode that we probably never seen with Lucas before. And I was very impressed by Sabrina Carpenter's acting and Rowan Blanchard's acting. Their acting in this episode was incredible, I have to say. This is really when the episode became amazing for me because Maya gets so scared, and she's not just acting like a concerned friend, she's acting like a girlfriend at this point. She's saying, look, I don't want you to ride the bull, and she says to him, if you ride this bull, I'm never speaking to you again. Riley, however, really wants him to do this, thinks he should do this because, he wants to make his father happy, and, his grandfather, he wants to make his grandfather happy, and his grandfather even says that he wants him to do this because he wants him to face his fears, and that's the whole big part of it, is all about facing your fears, and, basically, he decides to listen to Riley because he figures why not. He knows he's probably not going to get out of this. And Maya gets really pissed. She says, look, I'm never talking to you again. And that was huge. I didn't expect Maya to be so upset about this, but it really goes with what they're trying to show. It really goes with what they're trying to show in this episode that I definitely really loved here. So Maya at this point is sitting on the sidelines while Lucas is riding the bull, and he's not really sure how this is going to go. He's thinking he's going to die possibly, and he doesn't really know what's going to happen. Um, and he goes to ride the bull basically, and we also get this character, this other character that I don't remember his name, but I guess he was a rival to Lucas's grandfather, so that was kind of interesting. Not really much to say about that, but basically he ends up riding the bull, and he does, and you see Maya, she's sitting there, she obviously is concerned, but she's not watching, she can't watch it. Riley's cheering him on, as is Farkle and Zay, and he ends up falling. And I thought they were going to do a cliche thing where he goes into a coma, and that's how it was going to end. But luckily, that didn't happen. I was happy that they didn't do that, because that'd be stupid if they did that. I was really hoping that they wouldn't do something like that, and I'm glad they didn't. Because Lucas is okay, and he actually does do well in the bull riding race. He actually gets a time. He conquered his fears. They're very happy about him, and he did really well. He made his grandfather proud, and that basically is what happened there. But then we get to what I really love in this episode. As you guys can tell, I wasn't as into the main plot of this episode. I just didn't find it to be as good as I wanted it to be. So, I really want them to explore Lucas's character more in this three-parter. And I'm sorry, but him conquering his fears of riding a bull is not that compelling. I need something a bit more deeper than that, because we know the Girl Meets World can do that. That is why this last scene really saved this episode for me. The last scene of this episode is one of the best scenes Girl Meets World has ever done. I absolutely loved it, and this is why I love the show, because of this plot line that I was hoping we would get into in this episode, and we do, because Riley goes to confront Maya, and you can see that Riley can really tell something's going on with Maya, and she asks Maya why she was so concerned, and Maya says she doesn't know, and Riley says she does know. Now, I was thinking Riley's gonna be like, oh, you're in love with him, but Riley admits that she knows that Maya always knew that she thought of Lucas as a brother and never told her, because she knew how, because she didn't know how she felt, and, Riley has known this all along. She's starting to realize this on her own, and I really love that we finally got the review of Riley saying, look, yeah, I do think of him as just a brother. I don't think of him as anything more than that, but she says that Maya does. Maya is in love with Lucas, and I've said this. You could tell in this episode Maya is in love with Lucas, but she doesn't want to admit it, and she says, no, 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 there's no way I am, and she says, that she makes fun of him because she likes him, and just Maya's reaction to this, you can tell that Maya does not want anyone to know about this. She doesn't want to reveal this. She's not comfortable with this, and it definitely is going to change things with Lucas. You can definitely tell. So, Lucas enjoys the trophy that he got, and Riley confesses to him, and he tells Riley how happy he is that she did this, and that he couldn't have done this without her, and that he couldn't even survive New York without her. And she tells him straight out, and I really, just Rowan Blanchard in this scene, not as good as, the cyberbully episode, but definitely amazing acting in this scene, because she tells him straight out, "Look, I, really like you, but remember, they could not date in the second episode. They tried to date, it did not work." And she tells him how it felt awkward, and they can't hold hands. And she says he is her brother, and he thinks of her as a brother, and he loves her, and she loves him that way. And I mean, she thinks of him as a brother, and she loves him that way. And she gives him basically a quick peck on the cheek, and Lucas is just, he has no idea what's going on. And then the very end, she's like, "And Maya, how do you feel?" And you can see that Maya doesn't want to reveal to Lucas her true feelings, and that's basically how this episode ended. So I wouldn't say this was the best episode ever. I think it has the potential to be a very great episode. I think tomorrow night's episode is going to be very interesting to see where this goes. I'm very happy that Riley revealed all this, but my only complaint with this is that I would have wanted a bit more drama between Riley and Maya, and then for Riley to realize it. I mean, I understand that Riley realized it in this episode, but I kind of wanted some more drama between these two over Lucas and how they feel about him, and for Riley to realize it in like part 3. That's what I was thinking was going to happen here. I have no idea what's happening in tomorrow night's episode. I mean, it seems like Riley's going to reveal to Lucas the truth, and Maya's going to be really pissed about it. And we know in part 3, something causes this entire group to pretty much split up and get really pissed at each other. So definitely something's going to happen in tomorrow night's episode. I don't really know where we're going with tomorrow night's episode, but it's going to be very interesting to see where they go there. And I can see this episode to be split into 3 parts, because this pretty much was just the filler episode. It was Lucas riding a bull, which I didn't find that interesting, but those scenes of Maya having that genuine concern from him, and, she's starting to realize that she likes him more than a friend, and that she really does want to be with him, is really interesting to watch. And I'm very interested in seeing where they decide to take this storyline, because this is very interesting, and I really do love seeing that. And I really feel this is going to change Maya's, relationship with Lucas, definitely, because this is obviously something she never wanted him to know. I don't even think she really thought about it, but now that Riley's brought it up, she's thinking about it, and she doesn't really want to, so we'll have to see where that goes. But again, I thought this was a good first part. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was a great episode overall. I wasn't the hugest fan of Pappy Joe. I really wasn't. I think he was a good character. I like the concern he had for Lucas, but I'm not the hugest fan of it yet, probably because I'm just not used to this setting. It felt weird to have the Cory scene in there. I know we're going to get one in part 3, but this kind of felt pointless to have the whole railroad situation. I thought that was very strange, but I did like the message of this episode about conquering your fears and things like that. And the other thing about conquering your fears is that Maya's hiding this fear of Lucas, and she also needs to conquer that. So we're going to have to see what tomorrow night's episode, what happens there. I'm glad they're doing a 3-parter here, because I can stay very invested in this, and I can't say, "Oh, that was very disappointing," because I feel like part 2 is going to be really, really great, and I can't wait to see what happens in tomorrow night's episode. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. I thought this was a very good episode. A bit disappointing, just a little bit. I was expecting a little more drama. I'm not the hugest fan of the way they're handling this. I liked the confession that Riley made to Lucas, but like I said, I wanted a bit more fighting and a bit more conflict between Riley and Maya. I was expecting some fights between them, and it didn't happen. I'm thinking we're going to get something tomorrow night that, is going to leave Maya really upset with Riley. But now that Riley's confessed, I'm kind of, I don't really like the way they handle that, but I think it was a good scene overall. I overall really did enjoy this episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this first part. Did it disappoint you? Do you like the way they're going where Girl Meets Texas so far? It's not the most compelling episode Girl Meets World ever, but I think next week is, tomorrow's episode is definitely going to save it, and this is based on my review. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you guys in my next video, which, guys, I am catching up on Heroes Reborn, and my next video will be for last week's episode of Heroes Reborn, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.